What's up, everyone? I'm Steven Tokarski with Vital MX. We're here at Glen Helen Raceway today testing the 2025 Beta, or Beta if you're from Europe or across the pond in some areas, 300 RX two-stroke model. This bike's been around a couple years now, and they did some heavy updates for 2025, so we're gonna run through those first just to get that out of the way. They started off featuring a new chromoly frame designed specifically for motocross. They boosted it has a 10mm wider main spar and reinforced sections compared to the Enduro models. Also includes updated engine mounts and a new mounting point for the rear brake master cylinder. Along with that, they do have a new aluminum subframe from the RX 450 that does reduce weight and increases rigidity slightly. It's also equipped with the 48mm KYB closed cartridge front fork and a 50mm KYB rear shock. The engine now has updated cylinder porting and new high compression cylinder head and revised ignition timing, a new 5-speed gearbox with a stiffer diaphragm clutch spring. It also is fitted with an updated expansion chamber and a shorter silencer to reduce weight. Another thing, the radiators are redesigned, a little more narrow for a greater turning radius, and it also features new handlebar mounts. They call them iso-elastic mounts, but it's pretty much an X-Trig Flex handlebar mount if you ever ran those before. And they also have a little smaller 1.8 gallon fuel tank, and yeah, some updated graphics. This bike looks amazing overall, and it MSRP is for $94.99 out the door. You might pay for some setup fees and stuff like that along with that, but MSRP is $94.99. And I think this bike looks amazing, and it does it handles pretty well on the track too. So let's start off with the engine, the beast of this thing, a 300cc two-stroke engine. I really enjoy the 250cc. I actually enjoy all two strokes overall, but the more of these I ride these 300s, I really enjoy them. They're easier to ride than say a 125 or 250 because they're more low to mid response and power and less high RPM power like a normal two stroke. So they're a little easier to control, especially if you're a less skilled rider. So yeah, I think they did a great job with the updated engine. This thing had really good low power and torque feeling. I could really lug third gear around at all these corners. Didn't have to worry about using my clutch that much. And then it had really strong mid power as well. But I did feel like I don't like how it's very flat up top on this 300 character. So just like the KTM, I rode the KTM 300 a little while ago, and these two strokes, I want to wring its neck out. I want to ride them high RPM, and they just feel really flat, and the power signs off really quickly up in high RPM. And this is a very similar character to the KTM. So that is my one negative for the engine, but overall, it's pretty strong pulling for a 300. Maybe not as strong pulling as I expected coming into the day, but overall I had a really good time. I could wheelie out of some corners, especially low to mid. I started to short shift it a little bit, which made it a little easier to stay out of that flat spot up top. And overall, it was pretty good overall, so I was pretty happy. And I think jetting, we still have a carburetor on here. They haven't gone to fuel injection, which I appreciate because I think still haven't got the niche, all the stuff figured out on the KTMs with fuel injection. So I appreciate the Kian carburetor on this. It did feel a little rich down low, so if I came off throttle and then would start to crack the throttle just a little bit, maybe coming down a hill or as I got in the corner, it did feel a little rich, but I adjusted the air screw, went in a turn and a quarter, and that really helped with my response down low and first touch, gave it a little more easier to control and less rich feeling. So other than that, I think jetting was pretty spot on today. It was about 80 something degrees today, and yeah, I think minimal changes for me overall with jetting, and I think they nailed it pretty much out of the box with that. So let's move on to the chromoly steel chassis on here. You gotta appreciate the red chassis. It looks amazing. I can always appreciate a good looking bike, and I feel like they did a great job with the whole aesthetics of this bike. Is amazing looking. It's a little different than any other bike we have, which is cool. I appreciate that. And I felt like right off the bat, the chassis felt really good for me in light load, small bump comfort stuff. They did a good job of, I felt like I had good stability, but this bike felt really lightweight. I think it comes in at 219 dry weight. Don't quote me on that. I need to check that again, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So pretty lightweight, lighter than even a YZ250. So I did feel like I had easy to lean character and good traction feeling, along with pretty decent stability. Once I got a little more comfortable on it and started pushing on this thing, I did feel like high load situations, like especially coming down the hills and hitting some bigger bumps, I had a little busy feeling. Wasn't really like a side to side, just more of a front to back, just a little more busy than I wanted. I want a little more calm feeling character. It was predictable though, nothing out of the ordinary and nothing weird where like kicked one way one time and kicked another way the other time. So very predictable, pretty stable, but I did feel like I could use a little more calm feeling in the high load situations, which I did get with a little more suspension tuning. So with that, we'll get into the suspension of this bike. I did really appreciate KYB stuff. I've tuned and worked on a lot of KYB stuff in my 8 years as a Yamaha in-house test rider. So that's like my bread and butter of stuff that I really like to dig into, is suspension. And I think they did a great job with this thing out of the box. It had amazing comfort to start off, especially light, small bump stuff and slower speed stuff. But overall had great action, was just a little soft for me. I'm about 175, maybe 180 right now. I've been eating pretty good, but overall good comfort, good performance, but just a little soft for me, especially coming down the hills at Glen Helen when I was pushing. So I did feel like the front fork and rear shock had a little bit of pitching feeling. So when I'd get under braking, it would get a little deep, and the shock the same under acceleration, just a little deep. But overall, good comfort, no harsh feeling for me at all on this bike. I was really impressed with that. So I did do a little bit of tuning to the fork and shock for that soft feeling, and I went 2 softer on the front fork, as well as slowed it down 2 clicks to kind of just get it a little more hold up and a little more slower feeling as I hit stuff at speed, and that really helped me out. I gained a lot of high load performance, but didn't lose any slow speed comfort. And then did the same to the rear, very similar to that. Did 3 clicks on rear compression because I felt like the rear was just a little softer than the front. And then I went 2 slower as well. So that really made it a more level ride attitude. So I wasn't getting as much pitching under braking and when accelerating. And then I went in a quarter turn on high speed just to get a little more hold up when I was hitting some square edge bumps at speed. And overall, that was a great change for me. I was really happy with that overall. And I gained a lot of performance, but it didn't lose any comfort. And I actually almost gained a little comfort because I wasn't getting as deep in the stroke, and I had a little more action as I was coming through the bumps. So yeah, that was my most impressive point of this bike, was suspension out of the box. It was really good for me. And we did set our sag for about 100, 101. I like to run a little higher than a 4-stroke on a 2-stroke just because there's less engine braking. So when I come into a corner, I want a little more weight on the front instead of, if I went to 105, feel like I wouldn't get as much weight on the front entering corners. So yeah, went to 101 and stayed there all day. Was really happy with that. Couple other things I really appreciate about this bike are it does come with a map switch. It is right in the middle of your handlebar pad, and it has a sun and a cloud. So they have like a dry map and a wet map that's kind of more mellow. You could feel a difference in that, which I appreciate. There's some bikes where they do have different mapping and it's hard to tell, and there was a big difference from sun to rain is what the image is showing. So Felt like the Reign one had a little less response and power, low to mid, but with that would rev out a little farther because it wasn't getting through the RPMs as quickly. So little give and take. I kind of appreciated that little more, not as flat feeling up top, but I still chose the Sun map because it had more power down low, was more exciting and easier to ride in the tight corners. Another thing I really do like is they have a very similar handlebar pad to the YZ, but this is made of a more comfortable rubber feeling. So I feel like if I did hit this with my sternum, I wouldn't break it. Whereas the YZ does have a very, like it's pretty much not even there. So I really like that. It's nice and Sano, small, and works really well. Another great thing is electric start on a two-stroke. I know it's not a big deal, but I really appreciate it. Especially, it feels weird now to just press a button on a two-stroke and have it just start right up. It was very consistent, easy to start. So yeah, overall, another good little thing about that. And then I haven't rode these Michelin Starcross 6 tires. I've rode maybe once, so didn't really have much of an opinion come into it, and I was pretty impressed with them. I had good traction in flat corners and high load stuff. I had good comfort in the bumps, wasn't any harsh stuff. So yeah, I think they did a good job. Michelin's been around for a long time, so I think I was overly impressed with my opinion of what I thought they would be. And then go back to the engine just for a second. I forgot to mention that the idle was a little low out of the box. So I did have to raise the idle a little bit. Just I like to where if I rev the bike when it's hot and the idles come down, that it almost dies and it's still there, where like this would just, if you revved it really high and then just let off completely, it would die. And I could have that in a corner too. If I came in really hard and got into the brakes, it was easier to stall. So just adjusted the idle a little bit, and then that was a lot easier. Gave me a little more actual response down low as well in the corners. And yeah, overall, this bike looks amazing. I've mentioned that before. The black swing arm, the black ignition cover, clutch cover, the hydro clutch, the Brembo hydro clutch on this, I really like. Has a really smooth and light pull, but it has a pretty wide engagement to disengagement feeling for me. Where some of the hydro clutches, I haven't been a hydro clutch in the fan. They're starting to grow on me the better they get, but it wasn't that on-off feeling. I did have some control like a cable clutch, so I think they did a great job with that. And yeah, I really like the clear gas tank too. It's easy to see how much gas you have in it. I know it's a weird little thing, but feels great for me. And yeah, I really had a great time on this bike today. The seat as well. It has good stiff feeling. If I'm leaning back, I don't feel the seat base at all. And it has a nice texture to it. It has a little bit of a gripper, but not too bad to where it'll tear you up after a long day of riding. So overall, I think Beta has done an amazing job with this bike. I know they're coming out with a 350 two-stroke soon, so I'm very interested to see how that is. And we're also gonna take this thing and put it up against the KTM 300 and see which one's better of the 300 two-strokes out there right now. So if you have any questions, comments on this video, please leave them in the comment section below. And like always, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.